torpedo range, you're basically a submarine, and you're traveling around the ocean, and you're trying to shoot enemy ships that are on the surface with your torpedoes. It's from kind of a first-person perspective. It's kind of a submarine simulator, but not quite as detailed as some submarine. Okay, Kid Dracula. This is kind of a kiddie version of a Castlevania game. It's made by the same people. Yep, by Konami, and by the same people that make Castlevania. It's with more childlike sprites. This is more designed for kids than Castlevania was. So, now here's a weird title for a game, Megalith. And it really doesn't have anything to do with the gameplay, I don't think, the name. But what you have are a bunch of bricks or rectangles stacked up upon one another. And you're this little blob. And what you have to do is you have to move the bricks so that they're all on the bottom of the screen. And you have to do it in a way that doesn't break the bricks or that doesn't get you crushed. And it's a pretty interesting puzzle game. Final Fantasy Legend 3, the last Final Fantasy game for the Game Boy. For the Game Boy Classic, anyway. Word Zap. What it is, you got a bunch of empty columns on the right-hand side of the screen. You got a bunch of words on the right, or letters on the right-hand side, left-hand side. And what you have to do is you have to take all the letters on the left-hand side and make them all into three-letter words and make them all disappear. That's the idea of that. Pretty simple. Great Greed, an action game in the vein of Zelda. But not quite Zelda, but in the vein of it. Quirk, you're basically this little blob that's trying to escape rooms. And there's a bunch of little obstacles in the way, like mostly turnstiles and boxes and ladders. And what you have to do is you move the boxes. You have to turn the turnstiles in a certain way, and there are other turnstiles that are in their way, and you have to figure out how to use it. And it's a pretty good puzzle game. For some reason, its sequel is, I think, about $5,000 on Amazon.com. I don't know why, but there it is. Okay. Lock and Chase. This is basically a Pac-Man clone, only with cops and robbers instead of Pac-Man. And you pick up crystals to get more money, and you use them to chase bad guys if they need be. And it's like I said, it's like a Pac-Man clone. That's a pretty good Pac-Man clone. Home Alone 2, a platformer based on the classic movie. Or is it, I say Home Alone? I mean, yeah, Home Alone. I thought I said Home Alone 2. Oh well. Shanghai, which is basically Mahjong, the modern solo Mahjong, where you got tiles in a pattern, and you have to remove the tiles one by or in pairs, and that's basically what this is. This will keep you entertained for hours. But this is before the PCs were popular, and you can easily get a Mahjong game. But that's what that is. And the music was pretty cool too. A little bit repetitive, but still pretty good. Master Blaster Boy, or Blaster Master Boy. There's this great freaking game on the NES called Blaster Master, I think, where you basically go around. It's kind of like Bomberman, only you're collecting power-ups to escape each room and each objective, each area, each section, where you're trying to conquer each section of the Earth or someplace, a planet, and you're dependent on the number of power-ups you collect, and sometimes you have to go underground and you have to get like these light-up power-ups and whatnot, and it's an excellent game, and I can't remember off the top of my head the real name of it for the NES. This is a sequel to it. But it was Robo Warrior or Blaster Master. I can't remember what it is. I have to get back with it on that. But it's an excellent. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Square deal. You have a 5x5 grid, and you have poker cards dropping from the top of the screen. What you have to do is you have to drop the poker cards so that they make hands, poker hands, so that the cards can disappear. Once the cards get too stacked up, then you lose the game. It's a simple premise. Wizards and Warriors, Fortress of Fear. You're basically a warrior. It's a platformer game, and you're a warrior. Cool Ball. You're kind of in this room full of platforms, and what you have to do is you have to bounce him all over the place, and he's constantly bouncing, and you have, to control his bouncing so that he doesn't fall down, and you have to get him up to certain platforms to get the keys to escape, and it's a pretty intense platformer puzzle type game. Kind of hard to control a little bit. James Bond 007. It's a James Bond game. It's got a little bit of variety of gameplay. It's got arcade shooter type, a little bit of platforming, a little bit of stealth, a little bit of variety there for a Game Boy game. You know, usually Game Boy games are one thing and one thing only throughout the game. Okay, Wild Snakes. You're basically trying to fill up, trying to make lines on the bottom disappear. You're a snake. You got different shaped snakes or different length snakes coming down from the screen vertically, and what you have to do is you have to manipulate them so that when they come down, they fold into your lines like Tetris. You're trying to eliminate the lines before they fill up the screen. It's you're kind of hard to control. But it's a good concept, good idea. It's a little bit hard to control. Pac-In-Time. This is a platformer as played by Pac-Man. RoboCop versus Terminator, a platformer starring RoboCop and the Terminator. Legend of the River King. It's a survival game in the vein of Lost in Blue, where you're finding resources to survive and you're fishing to eat and whatnot. Sword of Hope. This is a fantasy game in the line of Shadowgate, where you're going from room to room to room and you have to make certain decisions. Then the decisions you can make are listed on the side, and you choose one and you go from there and hopefully you made the right one. Wave Race. This is a racing game with jet skis that you have to, and the hard part's trying to get over the waves and whatnot to keep from falling or falling behind. Donkey Kong Land 2. I thought I had Donkey Kong Land and Donkey Kong Land 3, but apparently I was wrong. But the graphics on this thing are absolutely the best. I mean, they were lauded for being the best. They're just, for the Game Boy, just fantastic graphics and tough platforming, but still, if you're a Donkey Kong Country fan, you can't go wrong with this. It's excellent. Nail and scale. Basically, you're climbing these towers and you're using nails to do it. You're finding different nails on the tower, or you're making nails to climb to the top of the tower while avoiding enemies. Bubble Ghost. You're a bubble who's in charge of protecting, or you're a ghost who's in charge of a bubble and protecting him and trying to get him through these different environments, trying to keep it from hitting spikes, and you're constantly using your A button to blow on the bubble and make sure it's blowing in the right place and in the right direction so that you can get it through obstacles and whatnot, so that you can escape each room. Bust a Move 2. You got a bunch of, it's like Bubble Bobble. Something like that, only you got bubbles at the top of the screen, you got a can at the bottom with bubbles, and you're trying to shoot all the bubbles, match them up in 3 so that you can eliminate them. And I don't even know if there's a Bust a Move for the Game Boy, the original Bust a Move. I know it's Bust a Move 2, I know there's a Bust a Move 94, but after that I really don't know if there was an original. Pokemon Blue version. I don't play much Pokemon because I don't see much difference in the games, but apparently this is very popular back in its day, and the original Pokemon games are kind of expensive.